I am moving you backstage.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first live stream, and thanks for tuning in. In today's session, we are going to do a whiteboard interview with a designer from Microsoft, followed by the best practice and the tips. So let's get started. As you folks tuning in across the globe, do give yourself a shout out on the live chat, drop us a comment, say hi, and tell us where are you from. So, just to begin with, I just introduce myself to all of your audience. So I'm Hitesh. I'm a product designer and a Lottie community organizer of Gurgaon, India. I have experience of around 9 years working in the animation and the film industry, software and the telecom companies. I start my journey as a VFX artist, visual effect artist. Then I moved to the communication design, and then now I am into the product design. I am currently working with Airtel. Airtel is kind of a pioneer in the telecom world. Here, we are basically improving the efficiency of the frontline employee and saving business costs with our design solutions. So, if you ask me, why I joined this community, so I learned a lot from the design community and my peers, and it would be an honor to contribute in any way and help many people in their career growth. And here, our objective is to build a place to learn new skill in design and meet local designers, developer, or any creator who have the similar interest. So, guys, if you have, you can float that information in your circle. You can ask them to join our Lottie community, and here we can discuss our thoughts and discuss our design innovations, everything, and we can become a big happy family. So talking about Lotifile, so Lotifile is a kind of a platform where it's platform for testing, collaboration, discovery, animation. The platform offers a range of tools and features that aim to discovery, creation, and implementation of Lottie animation easier and more effective. Here are a few use cases. You can use Lottie animation in micro interaction in app, website, AR, VR, funky stickers, and you can use Lottie animation in your presentation as well, like I'm doing it right now. And you can use it in advertisement. And there are above 130,000 companies who are using Lottie animation to ship their animations, and some of the companies include like Google, Apple, Adobe, and Microsoft, right? And just to give you a better idea what Lottie can do and what are the capabilities of Lottie, just have a look at that video. It will give you a little bit about Lottie. Please enjoy.
I've got a big fat drum, big fat drum. I've got a big fat drum, pounding so bad. I've got a big fat drum, big fat drum. I've got a big fat, big. Listen. Yeah. Clap. You ready? Let's go.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. So for today's session, we have Tejas, the product designer from Microsoft. So without any further ado, let me invite Tejas. Hey Tejas,
Hey, hi Hitesh. I hope you're doing fine. Thank you so much for inviting me over.
pleasure to have you here, Tejas, and thank you so much for managing your time and joining us today.
My pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So Tejas, before we start, why don't you just tell our audience about your journey and give us a small intro?
Sure, I would love to do that. So, as you are already aware, my name is Tejas and I'm working with Microsoft. So, my design journey started about 8.5 years ago when I first joined a company called Jabong.com. I was one of their founding members of design there. And throughout the time, and I got to work with other established companies such as Flipkart and Airtel. I also, for a certain period of time, I also switched towards the enterprise side of the things, wherein I worked on a lot of enterprise softwares and applications with 24/7 AI.
Amazing. That's quite a journey, Tejas. Means the companies you mentioned are kind of big shot in India, and 24/7. I personally, admire that because those are doing some amazing stuff in terms of AI. The intelligence is amazing on the chatbot, so that's pretty good. It's quite impressive. So
Thank you so much.
for yeah, so today we are going to do a whiteboard exercise where I'll give you a problem statement, right, and you
All right.
have to solve it right here, right now, in front of our audience, right?
All right.
And folks, if you have any questions, please drop it on the chat box. We'll pick it from there and we'll try to answer your queries. So they just let's jump into it.
Sure. Why not? I would love to.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
for today, that's your problem statement. So let's assume that you own a nursery and you want to offer a app to your customer to care for their plants, right? And you want to drive repeat business from them. So that's the problem statement. Feel free to ask any questions and yeah, let's have fun. I'm sharing your
Sure.
whiteboard so that audience can also see that.
All right. So before you do that, Hitesh, can I just quickly write down the problem statement?
Sure. Do you want me to repeat that again?
Sure. I was just jotting down the problem statement on my book here.
Sure. Feel free to do that. Meanwhile, just for the audience, so guys, normally whiteboard section happen for 60 to 90 minutes, but for the time constraint, we are just limiting it to the 30 minutes, right? So that you guys have a sense that how to respond the problem statement and what kind of a question you should ask and if someone is giving us a problem statement, how you dig deeper into it, which Tejas is going to show us today.
Sure. I'm all set, Hitesh. I can probably start the counter from this point on.
Yeah.
All right. So starting with what I generally do is, and this is one of the practices that I generally do is I start off with a certain assumption, and assumption sort of helps you come up with a certain direction in which you're trying to build the design itself. And typically, I sort of assume who the user is going to be. In our case, we can probably just go with John Doe here. I'm going to quickly write down the persona here. So, say for example, for my nursery, John Doe is a user. I'm just going to quickly write down what a day in his life looks like.
Hmm.
So, John Doe, say for example, I've written it down on my book, so I'll probably just I'm just gonna I find it easier to write it down on the book and then probably write it down on screen afterwards.
Sure. Whatever is comfortable for you.
Right. So while I'm writing it down, I'll just quickly repeat what how I'm assuming this particular persona to be, right? So John Doe, he lives in a 1 BHK apartment along with his pet dog. So I'm just going to quickly write that down, whatever that is coming in my mind right now as part of the assumption.
Uh, there's just one small request. If you can,
Yeah,
zoom up the window a little bit so that it will be visible to audience.
yeah. Would
Amazing.
this be
Thank you
fine?
so much. Yeah, yeah, works.
Perfect. So he his waking up habits are somewhere around he wakes up at 8 a.m. because his dog wakes him up anyways, and he takes his four-legged friend out for a walk.
Mhm.
After the walk, probably he comes home and feeds his pet and goes to take shower. I'll tell you why I'm doing this and why this is important because it sort of helps you stitch a picture in your mind about this person and what his traits are, his personality is, and that sort of helps you then build the app or the product for this particular persona type.
Sure.
And to begin his day with, he logs into his work around about 10. And in between this time, between his time, he cooks for himself and gets ready to go to work and gets rather in these days log on.
Makes sense.
So he is a focused fellow, takes his job seriously,
Mhm.
and excuse my typing, I'm not very good with when it comes to spellings.
That's totally good. We can understand that.
And while at work, he doesn't generally entertains personal calls and say, for example, his work hours are between 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Yeah. So while we say that he's a
Mhm.
committed person to his work, while he otherwise is quite a forgetful person. And which means that he procrastinates his personal tasks usually onto the next day.
These qualities are very precise. I can totally visualize that person that, he wakes up, his dogs wakes him up, and, he forgets some task and then pile up for the next day. So I can totally visualize that. It's pretty cool. It's very crisp.
Right. So I can, if I were to continue a bit more, he likes to keep his house aesthetically pleasing, and hence he spends a lot on buying decors, plants, and other fancy items. So somehow, if you were to see, I have stitched a story of this fellow wanting to have a plant. And let me just also give out other traits of John Doe here. He is 32 years old. Let's get that. Also, this is quite a shabby, if you were to look at it. It's a quick, shabby work, and generally it is all right to do a quick shabby work because it is a whiteboarding at the end of the day and you're just bouncing off ideas. So do not be very particular about how this whiteboard looks, how it ends. So it is all right to have things laid down in a shabby manner. He is a product designer. In fact, I'll just make it a product manager. He's a product manager. His education qualification is he's done his master's and his marital status is unmarried. All right. So after we do this, now that we have a certain understanding of who the user is, what are their traits, let's go down to building something for this person. And how do you build something for this person? Generally, what I do is I start off with putting down together how might we help John Doe come, say for example, since we know that he's a procrastinator, how might we help John Doe to take best care of his plants? He buys a lot of plants, but he also ends up killing them because he's a procrastinator. How might we help design a product that enables our users to take best care of our plants? So I'm just going to note that down as one of the how might
Yeah.
we's, and then other how might we's could be again looking at the write up a day in life of John Doe. I could also say how might we design a product that helps this user identify the disease that's causing the plants to die. How might we probably design a product that suggests user to buy which sort of plant? Say, for example, this particular person is also, I'm sorry, I'll just add another parameter here. So say, for example, this particular person is living in Gurgaon, and as we all know, Gurgaon is in summers is extremely hot. So what are the kind of recommendations that we could throw for this person? Say, for example, that can sustain in such a climatic conditions in Gurgaon. So, and another could be how might we design a product that could help this user keep a track of all their plants. He ends up buying a lot of plants, and we can also but he doesn't really know how many plants he has. How can we help him track his plants? And also the kind of plants that he's buying. How can we help him gain some knowledge about this plant so that he takes better care of it and ensure that they survive longer? So starting with how might we itself.
Hmm.
Again, so how might we, it helps you sort of identify some of the core features for the app that you would want to design. You would want it to be present of the app itself. So it's quite important to start with how might we
Sure.
increase the size of this. So I'll just say how might we, as I said, design a product that enables. Just copy this, write another one. I'm just gonna write it down on my book and then probably then paste it and write it here.
Cool.
Take that.
Yeah.
I find writing down in the book way more easier. And also, while I do this, I wanted to tell out that it is all right for people to whiteboard on a piece of paper. At times, as I said, I do not like interacting with uh, designer tools when I'm doing this. I rather want to just use my hand and be able to channel my free thoughts onto a pen and paper. Is it all right if I were to take some time here, uh, Hitesh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Take your time. Tejas, can you please zoom the screen a bit more so that our user can also see the how might piece which you wrote?
Sure.
Yeah.
Give me one.
And just want to give you a time check that it's only 18 minutes now, 18 minutes 20 seconds. So uh,
All right.
yeah, just a quick time check.
Yeah.
And guys, whenever you are doing such kind of activity, feel free to ask the recruiter or the your design manager who is taking that interview. Just give them some nudges on the time chat, because sometimes you got involved so deeply into the problem statement and you forget about the time, right? So it's totally fine if you are asking the guy that just provide you the time check. So it might be a good help. It will be a helpful thing for you.
Right.
Meanwhile you are writing, I'll just play some cool music for the audience.
All right. So now that we
um
have our all right. So now that we have our How Might We's in place, let's just
mhm.
from the How Might We start drawing some of the features that we would want the app to have. Now, say for
Okay.
example, design a product that enables users to take best care of their plants. What are the features that you could think of that could help the user take best care of their plants, right?
Mhm.
It could be, say for example, I'll just zoom in.
Mhm.
Reminders could be one of the feature. You can
Yeah.
have tips and recommendations.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna keep writing down all the features that I can
Sure.
think of here against each of the How Might We's. Design a product that suggests users to buy a plant. So as I said, there could be geolocation identification,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And if I could also think of, all right, we can design a product that identifies diseases. So here I could probably use camera as a feature. I can click a photo of my plant and then be able to, and also while we do that, suggest suggest cure for some common problems that people generally face.
Mm.
We could have video conferencing with the experts.
Makes sense.
And coming to the last one, design a product. So here what I could do is I could have the person create a virtual garden itself, wherein they put down all their plants and then have some vital information such as how much water to give. Say for example, I do have some of plants, so at times what
Mhm.
happens is, and I face this quite often, when I keep it out in the sun, it burns. So light intensity also sort of, so say for example, if you would want to give them information on light intensity for this particular
Yeah.
plant to thrive.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we have the features ready, we can probably move into the
Mhm.
shabby wireframes. And again, the wireframes do not have to be neat. It
Mhm.
is not necessary for you to. have a neat wireframe. All that you want to do is convey your thoughts and be able to
Sure.
present them to the interviewer. So do
Yeah.
not really end up with putting a lot of efforts trying to make a pixel perfect wireframe. I generally do it again on the book itself. Book it's much faster because you're able to quickly draw what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
So starting with that, but today I'm using, all right, yeah. So quickly coming up to the things of now. So I have what I said was there are a few features that I said uh, that should be important. So then let's go on to the navigational elements itself. What are the navigational elements that I'm looking for this app to
Hmm.
have? And again, really quick, stabby one, not really minding of the pixel perfection here. I'm
Hmm.
just gonna write down first thing is explore, wherein I should be able to explore some tips and recommendations based on my geolocation.
Yep.
And the next bit is we said I should be able to diagnose if my plant has a problem. So through diagnose, I should be able to connect to the experts or be able to look for tips and be able to cure my plant. And since this John Doe is a procrastinator, he needs reminders that will help him go about with his tasks easily. And the
Hmm.
last but not the least is the virtual garden itself, which I'm just going to say my plants. So this is where all my plants are going to be. So
Hmm.
this becoming a basic, uh, me again. All right. So we are now working on the explore page. Quickly, I have very less time here. So as I said, I am
Hmm.
able to understand what my geolocation is, and basis my geolocation, I'm just gonna provide quick, useful tips or blogs or the neck or the things that I should be buying if I am residing in a certain place. All right. Let me pick this color. All right.
Yeah.
So say for example, as I said, we are in summer right now, and so let's just say some recommendations on plants to buy this summer. So it's probably a, and the next thing is could be a useful tip on how much water is sufficient for my plant,
Yeah.
and some basic 101s on repotting probably 101s, repotting. So this could be like a feed of sorts wherein the person can always look for what is around him and how does he go about taking care of plants, or even if the person wants to buy more plants. But because at the end of the day, as uh, as a person who owns a nursery, I would want people to also end up buying plants, not just be able to take care of them. So,
Yeah.
so my feed or explore, as I say, should be a mix of all of those. The next
Hmm.
one is, I'm just going to quickly copy this again. The next one is diagnose, keep the frame, delete the rest. And again, so as I spoke of, camera is one of the features. So I should
Mm-hmm.
be able to click a photo
Or maybe
and
scan it. Yeah.
maybe scan it or click a photo. Yeah. So it could
Mm.
be click a photo or upload a picture, right? So this could be that. And then the next thing I said was I could, if I could probably just give some information on the common problems that people generally face. And again, so quick, shabby prototypes again sort of helps. To see these are the things that would not probably happen when you're doing it on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that because on paper you are very free. You just need to draw it up. You don't need to arrange the layers and the sequencing. So yeah.
Exactly. So now with the reminder itself, right? Coming to the reminder. So imagining that I may have multiple plans at home. So
Mm-hmm.
going with that logic, I'm just gonna say for example, always prioritize on what is due today, so that that is always there in the focus and you don't absolutely miss that. Probably this is my plan. And what are the few things that is due today? We could always say that. So for example, for this particular plant of mine, watering is probably due today. I'm just going to zoom into it so that you can see it clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So few of the things again, so watering, it could be watering, it could be probably repotting and ensuring that you are topping up your fertilizer.
Yeah.
And say, for example, as and when you complete the task, you can always say complete so that
Sweet.
the system captures it and then starts the cycle again. And if the cycle is, say, for example, water probably thrice a week, your cycle resets to the next time, the next one. So again, not everything could be captured here. So you can always explain the essence behind the screen itself. All that the interviewer is looking for is how well have you understood the problem statement here. So say, for example, these are few of the actions that I would probably want this person to take. That for this particular plant, you have these due today. So once you're done doing it, just
Mm-hmm.
close that thing. And apart from that, I would also want the person to be aware of the upcoming reminders so that it is
I
there
see.
in back of his head that these are a few things that I need to probably be able to do again. I mean, these are a few of the things that I need to do probably tomorrow or day after or a week from now. But then they're there.
Yep.
So not going to detail much into it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just to give a gist of that this could be my upcoming reminders. And not necessarily does it have to be all the three, which is water and repot and fertilize. It could be one of those itself. It could just be watering your plant four. You can just
Mm-hmm.
complete it there itself as in when you're done with it. And
Yep.
now coming to the final screen here, which is I'm really short on time. Right. But then again, as Hitesh said, you generally get more time than this. And even if you are uh, not done with the solution, the interviewer generally gives you the time and they see that you are going in the right direction. So they give you that extra time anyways, but
Exactly.
not too significant. They may probably give you another 5 minutes or 10 minutes to the max because they also have other interviews to go about with in their day.
And guys, one more thing. Like Tejas is doing, he's making the wireframe and he's thinking aloud so that the guy who is interviewing him, he also know the thought process what Tejas is thinking, right? So this is very important in whiteboard exercise that you have to think aloud so that the another guy also knows that on which direction you are thinking. And if you have any question, just feel free to ask. Most of the whiteboard exercise we experience that people are not asking questions, right? And in the end, it's not a good thing, right? So just ask as many questions you have, just clarify all the doubts and post that you can implement in your design.
Absolutely. Spot on there, Ritesh. It is extremely important for everybody to have conversation with the interviewer, bounce off ideas so that you don't feel stuck at every time. And again, so do not hesitate to ask or re-ask your interviewer the question so that you are 100% sure and clear of what the problem statement is.
Yep.
All right, then. So this is my initial screens are ready here. So this should be enough for a person to go about from here to explaining what the features are. So if you were to look at it in a nutshell, I have said that my explore page is going to have all the tips and recommendations and also suggestions on what plants should I be buying. And again,
Hmm.
your exploration, you can think out loud again. By say for example, by the reminders and by the plants that John Doe has already uploaded here, you could really personalize the kind of suggestions that you would want to give this person. And again, diagnosis. There's one thing if you notice I've missed here, which is consult the expert. Consult the expert could be just like a floating button here. I mean, again, thinking out loud, but then again, consult your expert. From here, you could probably get into a chat mode or a video conferencing mode. Again, I would say video conferencing these days, video conferences is much better because you're able to show the plant to the person right then and there and be able to talk to the person. So, yeah, so this is
Yeah.
that. And reminders, again, so reminders are something really important, especially for a person who generally procrastinates. And these reminders could then really be converted into notifications and alerts, and you could probably see them in your notification tray in your mobile. So you could always think, so you could always talk about that. And coming to the virtual garden here, so virtual garden again, if I were to go detail into my plant itself and I go into a plant, it would have a small little description about what the plant is. You could also be able to give this plant a name. Although it comes with a specific name of its own, you can always name them for your better convenience. And some of the cycles, say for example, some of the suggestions that could keep this plant healthy, which says your soil should be this moist, the light intensity should be this much, or and the watering cycle of this plant is about this much. With that, I'm going to stop the
Yeah, just kind of a bang
whiteboarding
on
here.
thing, Tejas. Means you're on time. In 30 minutes, you just solve a very big complex problem. And guys, you can see the process, right? The process starts with the defining the persona, and then how might we he extract out the features, the key feature or the important features, and then he put it in the wireframes, right? And in the entire process, he's just thinking aloud so that the other guys also relate with that why he's thinking and what is the story behind that a particular feature. So I think this kind of a very good solution, Tejas, right?
Thank you
And
so much.
now yeah, and now it's time to take a deep breath, and now we will shift the gear, right, from the interview stage to the just talk about the interview, right? So Tejas, before taking any questions, I'm very curious to understand that if you get more time, let's say if you get 90 minutes, right, then what differently you have been done.
What differently would I have done was I would have interacted a lot more with the interviewer. I would have probably bounced out certain ideas with him and
Hmm.
also done some of my secondary research. Again, secondary research is really important. You should totally do secondary research. You should just go on Google, try to understand what are there any solutions that are that what
Hmm.
are the solutions that are out there, how differently are they trying to solve, how are they solving user problems and etc, and how differently could you solve, what is it that they're missing. So 90 minutes really gives you time to do your research bit as well.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for answering that, Tejas. And just for our audience, any tips or recommendations before they start whiteboard exercise?
Oh, as I said, one of the thing is you do not have to feel pressurized to use the tool. You can do it on a piece of paper as well. And when you're creating assumptions, always try to reflect to your immediate experiences that you've had in your life. Say, for example, if a problem statement, look at it how you as a user put yourself in the user's shoe, probably see how this particular problem statement affects you as a person, and start putting down the assumptions in that particular manner. And this really will help you think about other things. It'll help you think about, okay, fine, this is a particular problem I face, and what are the solutions or features that would help me come out of this problem. So it is always important to put yourself in the user's shoe. And
Sure. Means
it is always important to it is okay if you yourself are the persona of your solution at this point, because it's a whiteboarding activity, not a real life. It's not a real scenario or a problem statement.
Sure, totally. And this is very crucial to, put empathy in your solution. And without empathy, we are just end up doing creating some features. But the moment we add empathy in our design solution, we are giving life to our product, right? And we are making something meaningful for the audience or for the users, right? So thank you so much, Tejas, for your tips and recommendation. I hope those will be useful for our audience. So now we have few questions from the audience.
Right.
So we are just picking some questions. So the first question is from uh, Pulkit Garg. Okay. So, hey Pulkit, how are you doing, man? So he's asking that, at this stage, is there any alternative to how might we?
Uh, there are plenty of alternatives to how might be. There's also JTBD, which is jobs to be done. But then again, it's really up to the person as to what is really getting them going. And given that the at that particular point you have a 90-minute sticker that is on your head, go with whatever that best helps you think of a particular solution. How might we helps me to at least boil down to a certain feature, or boil down to features at least that could be present as part of the app. And I've been using that as a rule of thumb every time.
Amazing. Pulkit, I hope we answered your query. They're just moving to the next question. So the next question is from Atul Kaushal. He's asking that, can we put any blog or learning session on the explore section?
I would say why not? It would, as I said, it's an explore, right? You're free to explore anything that is there. As I said, it could be recommendations on what plants to buy, or it could be how 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 much water is sufficient for my plant. So that is a blog in itself. It could be a video also. It could be a mix of it could be a mixed bag. It's a feed. Look at it as a Facebook feed.
Sure. Atul, does it answer your query? Please let us know in the comment. Yeah, there are few more questions. So yeah, there's one question from Anthony Rahul. So he's saying that thank you Tejas and Hitesh. Thank you so much Anthony for tuning in for our awesome session. I have one doubt: is there any alternative for Fig Jam?
There
Tejas?
are plenty. My alternative is my pen and paper, really. And then if you're doing it live, you could also use the whiteboard that is present uh, in the interview chamber, right? So you could always you make use of the meeting rooms to put down your thoughts. I generally do that. FigJam is just an alternative for me as well. Otherwise, I'm using actual whiteboards or my piece of paper all the time. You could also do it in Sketch. There is no limit to any of the tools out there. You can do it using any of the tools. All that you have to do is put across your idea and your thoughts.
I agree. So, Anthony, in this process, the interviewer is looking for your thought process, like what you are thinking, how you are approaching to a problem, how you are dissecting a problem and go deeper into it. You can use any tool, like they just mentioned that, a piece of paper is also work. And if you're asking for the tool alternative FigJam, so yeah, there is Miro. There are hundred of tools available online, right? But, more than tool, approach matters here. I think we have another question from Anthony. He's asking that if I want to start my career as a product design, do I need a degree? can you get an advice where to start or any tip for portfolio?
All right, so this could there's a long answer to this, and there's also a short answer to it. You do not specifically need to have a design degree per se. I do not have a design degree myself. I have a degree in computer science. It is basically your area of interest. How committed are you to solving a user need and user problem? So if you have that much of passion, you can always start learning online. I also picked up online. I started reading Medium articles. I started looking at Behance as to how people are solving problems and etc. So there are plenty of other avenues. And design degree is, I mean, I wouldn't want to put out any controversial statements out there. So yeah.
Yeah. So in short, Anthony, you don't need any formal design degree. I also don't have any formal design degree. So it's totally depend on how passionate about how passionate you are about solving a problem. Hope I answered your query, Anthony. Okay. So the next question is from Guru Charan Jeet. So he's asking, sometimes we are giving a task which is something we are not into much, for example banking and the finance process. How do you suggest we can come up with the thought process in that tight time frame?
All right. So going by your example of financial or banking processes itself, right? So I also have bank accounts and etc. And I manage my accounts online. So it is basically the problems that you face, right? So say for example, even if you've ever tried to interact with any of these banking applications, there are it, it's not intuitive. You really have to go around searching for say for example, even if I have to open up a recurring uh, recurring account, or if I have to open up a fixed deposit account, and etc. How do I really simplify that as a user? Are these something that people around you are also facing? Say, for example, even your parents, are they facing these challenges? Because we tend to run to the banks, talk to the manager itself. Can we think of a virtual manager out here? Can we think of some? Can we think of a bot or an assistant or a person assistant itself who could really help you on board with the financial or banking solutions that is out there? So always think of it in that sense. Conversation is again quite important, so you may want to include conversations in your design.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Kruchan, I think they just answered your query. Do you have any follow-up questions? Please let us know in the comment section if you have any follow-up questions. Thank you. Next question is again from Pulkit Garg. Wireframe are alternative process. So should creator also give any line of thought on approach of further iterations at this?
Okay, so if I'm understanding this question correctly, wireframes are iterative. I would say designs are iterative. Wireframes are just your initial mockups that sort of puts a puts an idea of how the app is going to how the app is going to get architecture. So you can always start off with certain idea, and again, this is a wireframing exercise, right? So wireframing, you can always go ahead and you can always iterate. And iteration is something that is limitless. You can always keep iterating, and it's an endless process. At least to put your initial ideas and thoughts out there, your initial wireframes should be good enough. At least that should communicate to the interviewer what you're trying to imagine or what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that, Tejas. Pulkit, I hope we answered your query. Tejas, we have few queries we got those queries from the RSVP form. So in the form, some of our friends mentioned some queries. So now I'm
Right.
taking those.
Sure.
So first one is from Pushpant. He's saying that I'm a beginner. I want to start if they ask for whiteboard challenge during the internship interview.
So it differs, right? So say, for example, it differs from company to company. If you are doing your internship, generally for an internship, they will just try to understand your design process through your portfolio itself, the amount of work that you've done. Say, for example, if any graduation projects that you've worked upon, and they would want to see what your thought process was there. And
Mhm.
whiteboarding exercise again, may not be asked for, but then if it is asked for, you can always go ahead with the same process that in which you generally think, right? Which is you come up with some certain assumptions, and from the assumptions onwards, you can probably work on your I would say your your solution. But then again, it is not always asked for an internship person to do a whiteboard challenge. Your portfolio should be good enough.
Great. Thanks for answering that. Uh, few more questions. I'll take last two questions, and the first question is from the Radhika Arora. She is asking how much to be focused on the time limit.
All right. So time limit, two people, time limit puts a pressure. So what I would say is, for the moment when you're working on it, let go of the time limit. Time limit is something that the interview is going to take care of. He's the one or she is the one who will tell you how much time is remaining. You just focus on the end solution that you're working upon. Leave that to the interviewer.
Amazing. I think that makes sense. The next one is from Yugang Singh. Is there any prerequisite?
Prerequisites to whiteboarding. I'm not sure. So at times you are given the problem statement 10, 15 minutes before you start your whiteboarding challenge, and at times you're just asked to do it then and there. So the prerequisites are, as I said, reflect to your immediate experiences or reflect to any of your friends' experiences who you talk with, and think about the primary thing is how might we really help you, the personas really help you, assumptions really do help you to come up with features. And again, it's a whiteboarding exercise. Your assumptions, your features are based on the assumptions, and you can always defend your assumptions even if they're questioned.
Great, great. All right. So this is it from the question side. Guys, do you have any other questions? Please let us know. Okay, yeah, we have one more question from the live chat. So he is Nitish. Please answer, sir. How can we make our design more useful to users?
Uh, the more you learn about your users, the more your designs will become useful for your users, right? So a lot of research, I mean, I do a lot of primary research. Even before I start working on any solutions, I go talk to my end users, try to understand what their problem state, what their pain points are. And it really does matter a lot. I've been doing it for over the years where I go talk to the users, try to understand what is their situation like, what is their environment, what language do they speak. Each of this really does help you in building that empathy and going towards that design that really does care for the end users.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much, Tejas, for answering that. Nitish, I hope we answered your query. Uh, okay. So, okay, so I think this is it. We don't have any further questions or the queries from our audience. Thank you so much, Tejas, for taking your time and answering all the queries. And the session is very insightful, at least for me, and I hope that for the audience also, it will be kind of insightful and they learn a lot from this session. So now I'm, moving to the backstage. Uh, any last words to our audience or any suggestions?
All that I would say is thank you, Hitesh, for having me over and be able to share some of my experiences or some of my ways of working. So yeah, I'm really glad that I was able to share some insights of mine. I hope that was useful to everyone who's watching this.
Yeah, definitely. So now, Tejas, I'm moving you to backstage, and we hope to see you soon again in the next stream.
Thank you so much, Hitesh.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right, guys. So, thank you everyone for once again for tuning in, and we hope you had a great time. We have a lot of more sessions coming up next, right? So don't forget to follow us on the YouTube and follow us on LinkedIn. Here's the barcode. You can simply scan it, and in the chat also we are just putting the URLs. Feel free to click and join us. And this is it, guys, from our side. Thank you so much. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you. Bye bye. Peace out.